In today's video, Brazil is forming an empire, because I felt pretty bad that I destroyed their nation in the last video, so let's start it. And yeah, we'll have France invade them, but I don't care to color in the rest of France, because only French Guiana matters in this video. Yeah. And yeah, wrong color. Oof. And, well, they start moving into Brazil, because why not? But Brazil doesn't take this, and they decide to say, okay, you're out of... Yeah, they basically kick them out pretty quick. Now they go with the goal of capturing the coast. Why capturing the coast? So then forces can't get in and forces can't get out. With them starting a small advance in the south and quickly capturing the sea access, and quickly after leading to France to leave French Guiana in Brazil's hands. And Brazil decides to be like Venezuela and invade Guyana. Because who doesn't want to invade Guyana? But they also invade Suriname. And Suriname wants Guyana's land for some reason. With one offensive being made over here with the goal of reaching the coast, some small offensives down here with the goal of distraction, one coastal offensive here and one offensive here to cut off supplies there. Well, then they move in and they completely reach the coast, with this front quickly capturing up to that front. Here, this distraction advances a bit, and over here. And this offensive aimed at cutting off supplies works really well, with them launching another one over here. With Guyana and Suriname being forced into surrender. Not long after it began. And they weren't able to resist well. Brazil is starting to see it as what it should have been doing forever. Well, they have an empire. They like forming an empire. Go from partitioning a nation to forming it an empire. That's a big change. And maybe this video will do great, and I'll get 10,000 views, but I doubt it, but that's okay. As they start an offensive with the goal here to capture down to the coast, and over there they launch a coastal offensive, quickly capturing the capital. Argentina is probably not a fan of this, but who cares? Well, they annex it, because what's an empire going to do besides annex everyone? Annexations are not great, but this is an empire forming video. Well, they launched their Paraguay offensive. And quickly they capture half the place and they move in down the Paraguay River, wherever that would be located. And then they capture it. And Paraguay has fallen. Because Brazil wants to take over the Guays, I guess. Well, Brazil moves up to go after Venezuela, knowing no one will likely help them. Because nobody likes that nation for some reason. Definitely not a reason, but okay. As the invasion begins. Right in the morning, I guess, probably. As they move across the coast and over here to cut this area off and move to the coast. With their coastal offensive, quickly splitting off into that as this offensive is moving up, with them moving around to encircle this area. And also encircle over here. With this offensive reaching the coast around as this offensive starts moving here. Them struggling to kick that area out with resistance breaking out. With the resistance managing to move an offensive all the way to here. During that time, Brazil decided to cause these two pockets to surrender. And then they launch an offensive to the capital. I think it's around here. And well, they're forced to surrender, which isn't a big deal. So Brazil just decides to create a kind of puppet state over here. Well, that's not the last nation they're planning on going after. with Argentina seeing this as a bad thing. And they meet with Bolivia and Colombia. Only Colombia agrees with them. So they both decide to start an attack. Yeah, they decide to dye the ocean darker blue. No. Well, Argentina is a fun time as these offensives move north. With the offensives moving north, having been in the north, Argentina manages to quickly capture most of Paraguay. As they quickly move on to capture all of Paraguay. As they also manage to move in and take over Uruguay as they start moving north. And they also start an offensive here aimed at cutting Brazil off. But one thing did not go well for Colombia. They started their offensive, but quickly Brazil managed to start pushing them back. Because why wouldn't they? And they use this offensive as they slowly move towards Bogota. As they launch an offensive to get to Bogota, and they create an area to stabilize the front along here, as they decide to launch a spearhead and another spearhead to help this offensive, as it quickly moves in and manages to take Bogota. With the fall of Colombia having happened, with Brazil seeing invading Bolivia as a good idea to get through. Which, at the beginning, why would you do this? But it becomes more reasonable. As they quickly take Bolivia's capital and move in. As Bolivia quickly becomes a part of the front. With Argentina launching a small offensive, realizing that wasn't what they should have done. As Brazil takes this time to push back this Argentinian spearhead, making it back to the border, and they even push them back out of their main territory. Quickly bringing them to just hold the capital of Uruguay. With Argentina being forced to withdraw from both of their offenses, and quickly they ended up overrun in, Bolivia. With Chile seeing this as time for South America to work together. Chile and Peru join the war. And so does Ecuador. With them launching an offensive here to kick Brazil out of there. With Brazil being pushed back quite significantly. They also get pushed back quite significantly up in Colombia. But that was not the right one. Now, let's try that again. And while Brazil launches an offensive, surprisingly, with hundreds of thousands of forces, as it was believed they had most of their army up away. So they launch an offensive here. With the majority of their soldiers, they go in and take over. As they move towards Buenos Aires, and they take it. And they move down their panhandle, because apparently panhandles are just not normal. But let's move down, as they move down Chile's coast, to take Santiago, which goes well. As they start an offensive in Peru now, which reaches the coast, but doesn't take this capital, so it moves down a bit to get it. And this area is forced to withdraw back to the rest of the front. With these forces withdrawing to Ecuador. Quito falls and forces start evacuating to go to Argentina's front. With Argentina using this opportunity to launch an offensive, but they only manage to push up here and over there. Before Brazil launches an offensive here and over here, which cuts off this area where most of the forces are. This area eventually gets forced to surrender, which leads to a peace treaty. So let's see the peace treaty. Chile, all of Peru, all of Bolivia, parts of Ecuador, most of, what's that called? That's called Colombia, including its capital. They took a big chunk out of Argentina and a big chunk out of Ecuador. And that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but non-delay subscribe. Bye, guys!